Welcome back. We've been on many adventures with Man, but the adventure you're about to watch defies all logic, all sense, and it will make you wonder what events led you to watching it. Welcome to the LEGO Batman Serial Killer Run Supercut, a compilation of the 3 parts of the LEGO Batman series on the channel, edited down and made into one continuous episode, cutting out all the fluff. Well, aside from this bit, I guess. It also features BD1P, who was kind enough to lend his moth-melting talents to help the boys take down the toughest test in the series. But anyway, enjoy as we indulge in some good old-fashioned moida. Welcome back, and welcome to the sequel you never wanted or needed. After Ham Night, Man was lost. He had nothing to do, faking his death didn't work, he was found sifting through garbage trucks to find rats to slaughter, and someone found him and leaked this information to the public on Twitter, confirming his fake death wasn't so fake after all. During his grand return tour, Man would take up his mantle once again and begin crime fighting. But well, it just wasn't the same. It's like Man had forgotten why he enjoyed killing. He really just didn't feel like it anymore, and thank God Ham Shadow was just a dream, am I right? This is in no way a reference to the real world situation that brought the series to an end. But on one of his nightly patrols, he accidentally phased through the very fabric of reality. Flustered and scared this might be finally his time to die, Man began trying to escape, gliding under the world he once called home, and realising there was no way back, his cape gave out and Man would begin falling and falling, and as he shut his eyes, remembering all of the kills he'd ever gotten, from the hundreds of electrocuted thugs in Asylum, the poor unfortunate thug he dragged off the bridge in the museum and watched slowly fall to his death in Ham City, the tens of men whose lives were brought to a horrifying conclusion with the use of the death gloves in oranges, and the night he finally decided he'd had enough and tried to add himself to his own kill count, all of it flashed before his eyes. And then 2 thugs rushed Man, and like he was on autopilot he took them out, and while regaining his breath he realised he wasn't in his world anymore. He was in the... After the events of Manham, Man's greatest rogues have decided to team up to add him to their kill count. Our first team up sees Man face off against Cassius Clayface, our green friend, Face, the Puzzler, and the Iceman. Bin tried to come rescue Man, but obviously he's still kind of useless, so also got stuck here with Man, meaning the dynamic dimwits have to team up once again. Kills are counted when an enemy explodes, and that's it. The duo jump down to try and stop CC, who's began robbing a bank. Man is shocked to see him, but this is the LEGO world and nothing is as it seems. Dead villains are back, Man's suit isn't black, and brain cells does Bin lack. Along with their newfound world and reborn lust for murder, the pair have had to try their best to replenish the dwindling Wayne Tech funds after the city took Wayne and his sidekicks to court, following his unmasking, so along the way, Man and Bin will be actively trying to hunt out every stud they can. And when all this is said and done, maybe they can afford to buy the rights to Brendan Skelnar's likeness so we can finally move forward with a movie. Our first 4 kills of this brave new world are claimed instantly, with the pair getting their hands on the necks of the first victims of the series, with the 4th kill being literally paraded around because yeah, Man is back. After smashing the street up out of anger and ending 2 rats, something Man did pretty regularly in his days back in the real world, 2 more green-clad criminals come gliding from the sky, but Bin and Man stick it to them, sending them back to the holy mock in the sky. After a little more public property damage, a favourite pastime of the pair, Man slices this fool in half, punches this man in half, and dons a new suit, something unlike he's ever seen before. Let me introduce you to the TB Pie suit. Man dons this suit, relishing its destructive capabilities, and jumps down into the fray of enemies, claiming 5 off the bat. He punches this guy so hard he twirls 3 times in midair before Man ends the encounter in his typical brutal fashion, taking out the final 3 twerps. Man, playing with his new toy, accidentally ends Bin's life, which under normal circumstances would be a great loss. Bin has proved himself as a worthy sidekick after all, but well, he just reappears. It seems in this new and strange land, the laws of death don't affect our main characters. It's a good thing these rules don't apply to the weaker criminals, otherwise this would have been a very short video. Man finds a little truck and decides to hone his driving skills outside of the back tank. He hits some nasty donuts while Bin begins trying to permanently end himself in the puddle of corrosive acid. Some more public property damage is followed by 3 more of the green goons being dispatched of before, in an unprecedented show of dominance, Man plants a bomb from the TB Pie suit while picking an entire man up with 1 arm before planting him into the ground, blowing the bomb up and punching another man so hard he dies. Pure aura. He continues to ruin the street for those oh-so-sweet studs and is ambushed by a load of new victims. 4 are instantly added to the count by way of a free-flow combo before 4 more greener guys are sent to sit alongside the retired DC sets. Man then takes a page out of Aura Man's book, letting a tanker blow up for the fit pick, before he meets back up with Bin, who got distracted by those godforsaken IG reels, and the pair add 8 more victims to the count in a show of unmatched block-building masculinity. Man sees his longtime girlfriend on a wanted poster, which worries him, so he continues down the street, Bin in tow, as a single thug tries to end him. However, he fails. Man engages another thug who gets turned into a dart as Bin fights off 2 foes at once. He fails, which means his mentor has to come in and promptly show the boy Blunder how it's done. Bin gets arguably the hardest kill of the episode when he pulls multiple back handsprings on this guy before kicking him in half, reminding Man why he now respects him as not only a son, but a person. Man places another bomb as 3 more attackers try to add them to their own count, but the bomb hits Bin. Once is a coincidence, and twice could be put down to bad luck. If this happens a 3rd time, I will be launching an investigation. Anyway, the attackers are dealt with before 3 more exit the subway and find out why Man and Bin were so feared in the real world. In a show of immense charity, Man gifts Bin his new suit, the Wreck suit, no relation to the gun. Bin used his newfound powers to, oh it's a trap, 8 more green goons begin their assault, but our dynamic dimwits thwart them, with Man trying to use a quick-fire batarang on the final thug, missing and then being called the worst slur a man of his talents can be called. Oh god, I'm gonna puke. A superhero, gross. As I was saying though, Bin uses his newfound powers to control tiny cars and flip switches. Somehow that feels very fitting. 4 goons try their luck, 4 goons bite the curb that is Man's hammers of justice. Man, tired of Bin's occasional incompetence, steals a Ferrari and tries to escape Bin, but well, he's stuck. He tries it all, but sadly he can't escape his only friend in this twisted universe. After telling Bin it was just a prank and he didn't really mean to call him those things as he drove off, especially not useless fucking and block-headed mouth breather, they finally found Cassius Clayface, who's in the middle of stealing these comically shiny silver bars belonging to Bruce Wayne, who, because Clay, much like the Venom symbiote, shares one hive mind, has been outed by Clayface himself. Yep, that's right, all of the villains in LEGO Batman know exactly who Man is. They know he's Bruce and his son is Robert. Not yet. That's not my bit to shamelessly steal and try to get the most insane LEGO Batman collab of all time. Anyway, Man and Bin engage Clayface in some classic Queensberry rules. And thankfully, one of the green goons is caught in the crossfire and is brought to an end before 2 more are sliced directly in half. Man clears out the bank of 2 more goons as Bin makes some good progress in putting CC to the sword for good, as Man Superman punches this thug and hits an attitude adjustment on another. Even Man enjoys WWE and thinks Cena's 6-month heel run was a little underwhelming, but it was fun and his match with Cody will go down as one of his top 10 matches ever. Anyway, another Green Goblin is sent flying and Man uses the remote control Manarang to gas Cassius Clayface into submission, but as he's being secured, Face arrives and Puzzler comes out of hiding, and as Man gives chase to Sudoku Man, he's tripped by Clayface as Bin merely stands and watches, a valid response to him being blown to bits twice, and Puzzler and Face get away but not before Man's able to launch a tracker at them, keeping tabs on them for now. The pair follow a lead of cold calls to the world's most off-putting ice cream factory where they believe the Iceman is hiding. The pair are ambushed by 4 criminals who are brought to a swift end, and Man builds up some kind of rudimentary ice cream launcher and takes down a further 4 criminals as Bin gets access to a new kind of fun, the freaky foot suit. It allows Bin to use them grippers to climb grippable surfaces, but yet another batch of 4 thugs try to exact revenge for their fallen comrades, and of course they fail, and well, you guessed it, another 4 come and go. After breaking down the gate into the fortress of Freezitude, 3 of the Iceman's Blue Brigaders make their stand, but well, add them to the count, along with these 4 unfortunates, and these 4, God this is relentless, and this guy. Man obtains this fancy gliding suit which he named the ACWOT or AQUAT suit, which stands for a complete waste of time. See, back in Man's real world he didn't need a suit to glide, his cape did that for him, but here he needs a clunky jetpack and he's really not a big fan of it. 4 of the Iceman's goons try to rip the suit off him, and although he let them if he wasn't so concerned about his own life, he still ends their lives. 3 more are added to the count as the dynamic duo make their bodies cold before Bin cuts this man in half. Continuing through the Ice Age, Man and Bin take out 4 more thugs who get a cold curtain call, all before 3 more of Freeze's abominable snowman buddies are claimed. There are also 8 more kills here between that last section and getting to meet Mr. Freeze. Now originally, I just left this out of the voiceover. I don't know why, I don't know how, there wasn't any funny jokes written in, this just wasn't there. So I'm adding this in post, so yeah, add 8 kills to the count. Once inside the Iceman's lair, the pair are duped by Puzzle Boy, a tricky little creature he is, before they finally meet their ice cream maker. Our first batch of 4 enemies actually get the better of our favourite pairings, Dexter and Rita, obviously with the help of Arnie, but nevertheless this is a sad moment for us. Alas, they're dealt with, and so are 2 more, and 2 more. After filling the ice cream makers, Man punches this poor guy halfway to Timbuktu and super kicks a hole straight through his friend, as 3 more thugs try their luck and are met with instant death, as well as 3 more later down the tracks. Another 2 collections of cold criminals try to stop the pair from thawing the Iceman out and are thwarted as Rotting pushes this car down the track, which adds another 6 enemies to the count. As a comically large ice cube falls onto the head of the Iceman, 5 more of his thugs try to kill Man and Rotting, but they're instantly stopped along with their boss, who ends up being beaten by the pair in a hotly contested fight. Well, I guess he kind of beats himself as he ping-pongs around the room and probably concusses himself to Kingdom Come before being knocked out. Puzzler shows up and tickles the feet of Freeze and, wait, Puzzler? Man and Rotting give chase, but unfortunately he once again gets saved by Face and his armoured car. He leaves the pair a present, probably full of kittens and their favourite movies. And for those of you who know Man's favourite movies, well, yeah. Hello, it's post-editing Charles here, and my lord do I have a story for you. So between the level you just saw, 1-2, and the level you're about to see, 1-3, the count slips backwards by a whole 35 kills. Now, nobody, not even me, noticed this when the video was initially released. It got just over 10,000 views and not a single person commented on it. I did point this out in the Discord server as well, which you can find a link to down below, and no one noticed there either. Everyone was shocked. This was a blip in the matrix, to say the least. Hell, I only noticed it while watching this video back in its entirety and looking down at the right time. I looked down at the end of 1-2, looked up at the title card to look at something else, and then looked back down at the start of 1-3 and was like, that number is smaller than it left off on. Now this means that the final count in the actual part 3 video, the solo part 3 video, is wrong. So I have updated the outro as well as both a, you know, like a bookend for the series and this specific video, because yeah, the count was wrong. I genuinely do not know how that slipped past both myself and everyone who saw these videos as they were coming out. I was very thorough with these counts, even going as far to count chapter 2, like 5 times, like 3 to 4 times, 5 times maybe, just to make sure I didn't mess it up, because I am awful with numbers. I guess all I can do is apologise and say I hope this doesn't ruin your viewing experience. I mean, let's be real, who cares about the count, right? No one's here for that, are they? Anyway, I'll add a little reminder above the count so you don't forget my mistake and never let me live it down, and I'll now hand you back to both Bin and Man as they take on Face's car. Anyway, we catch up to Puzzler and Face as they celebrate escaping with their giant freeze gun they intend to use for probably illegal reasons. They begin running from the cops but are stopped by the ever-reliable Jimmy G, who places some stop signs to ensure their cooperation as the dynamic dimwits drive into action and begin hunting the pair down. These vehicle levels will be counted a little differently. See, in Ham Night, I counted vehicles as probably having like 3 enemies in them. The first car I took out in Night did, so we'll carry on tradition as to keep things fair. 2 cars are taken down before one of the Puzzler's armoured vehicles is toppled and dragged over to the proper authorities, because even in times like these, Man still has to follow some of the laws. In this section, Man blows up one car before heading off to take out one of Puzzler's armoured vehicles. He does just that and takes out another 4 cars, which adds 12 more names to our list. Man hunts down another truck and takes it out, and in doing so ploughs through 2 more cars. After picking up one of the trucks, he adds another 12 names to the list and delivers the first truck back to the police. Another 12 kills in total means another truck is taken over to the cleanup crew waiting before he heads back around the corner to grab the final truck, and on the way man demolishes 6 more cars, which means a massive 18 added to the kill count, finishing this section off nicely. Now we finally get to fight Face's armoured truck, an exciting prospect but we'll have to be careful. The Face of the real world was ended at the hands of Rotting, and so he'll be out for revenge. Man jumps into action, shielding his boy Blunder from Face's wrath as he takes 2 cars down. To beat Face, Man has to employ the help of Jimmy G's expert bomb squad, who drop Fat Man nukes on Big Bad Harv's Big Bad car. On his way to the blast zone, he ends another goon car and eventually gets Harv into the place to be nuked, and as he is, it lands and a heart is knocked off. 3 more cars are added to the count and ended before 2 cars are added and Face is dragged back over to the blast zone, where the GCPD managed to hit both Harv and another car, which will get added to the count. On the final trip back to the bomb squad, 5 more cars and 15 more names are added to the count in a show of extreme dominance for the dynamic duo. After they've defeated Face, himself and Puzzler begin tweaking over their loss, and Puzzler runs, being cornered by the dynamic dimwits, before our green friend lends a helping hand and bails him out as he gives the duo another green box. Back at the newly minted man cave under Bruce Manor, Bin is entranced by the leaf from our green friend. Man asks for it and manages to pin it to the Gotham Botanical Gardens, because obviously that's how that works. Man and Bin pull up, and after some failed aura farming by Bin, they enter. They begin by grabbing a garden and take out 3 of the purest green goons plants can grow. They then destroy that garden for the coins it will give them. They're nothing if not entrepreneurial. Spoiler alert, this will yield a ton of studs for us. Like, a ton. But it'll also wield a ton of thugs, including this poor sap, this one, and these 2. Man builds this destructive force, a killdozer of epic proportions. He begins flattening the ground around him and profiting from it. Insert joke about billionaires here. 6 more enemies rush our friend, and 6 more enemies fall flat off the mark, being planted in the ground along with the rest of their friends. Oh, and guess what? Bin gets a killdozer too. Sadly, due to not having any friends, we can't race them, but it's fun to have to. It's during one of these destructive flurries with the killdozer that Man unlocks what I've dubbed the JBL suit. No, not after John Bradshaw Layfield, after the speaker brand. Here, let me show you a quick demonstration. In the next phase, 5 more enemies get ground into dust before another joins them, and this man just, well, I'm not sure where he went. A singular goon tries his hand at trimming the weeds of justice, and well fails. 3 more plant-based goons fall to the weed killers, and Bin gets his Hoover suit. A suit which, well, hoovers things up. After making their way through the gardens, 3 more plant babies succumb to Bin's hand of Hoover, and the pair continue their way through the gardens as 3 more add themselves to the count. Then Man builds a new suit changer and grabs his most fire suit yet. Yeah, I don't have a name, it's the heat suit. Man uses the heat suit to navigate areas he'd otherwise lose his fingerprints in, and eventually the pair make it to a lab. Now, if you think I'm going to sit and count this infinite slew of enemies that come after you in this lab, then you're absolutely right. No, I'm not doing that. Well, I kind of did. I lost count at around 30, and there are at least like 10 more, so I'll add a whopping 40 to the count, but I genuinely think there were like 50 here, but I don't want to overinflate our numbers. Our next fight is when we finally get our hands on our green friend. She spawned a trio of giant piranha plants in, and with Bin's weed killer failing, we have to bomb them. Early on in the fight, 2 thugs are uprooted, with the following 2 subsequently offed. After bombing one of the plants, another few goons spawn in and are promptly taken care of, before Man finally gets to fight Green one-on-one. Man bombs another plant while Bin just kind of stands there and watches on like the moron he'll always be deep down. 3 more thugs are also added to the count. Bin builds the final bomb and manages to detonate it, sending the final killer plant packing, and with that our green friend is put to an end. Remember guys, girlfriend, boyfriend, friend, they all end in end. But you know what doesn't? Man and Bin. They are forever. After Green is defeated, Bin, the idiot he is, begins falling for Green. Hard. Thankfully though, we avoid a repeat of that time in 1997, and Man manages to take Green down and shake some sense back into Bin. Puzzler is here too, hiding in a plant pot, but once again he gets away in the face car, leaving another present for the duo. Back at the cave, Man and Bin use their combined brain power to build this small polybag set using the parts given to them by Puzzle Boy, which it turns out is actually a direct replica of this comically gothic bank, which is presumably where Face and Puzzler will be robbing. The pair arrive at the scene and are instantly ambushed, adding 6 names to the count before they've even had time to settle. Man then finds another target, hopping in this bank van and running him down until he's essentially human paste, before putting him out of his misery in his usual fashion. After driving the van through the front gates, the two are ambushed yet again, using the manarangs to add 4 more kills to the count, slicing them all in half. Man obtains the Aquat suit and flies over to the mainland, letting Bin cross safely. Once across the bridge, more green goons try to end them, and there's a lot of them here, and they all die one way or another. By my count, there are 11, so we'll add them now. Another thug pulls up on a bike, and rather than ending him, Bin steals his bike and does donuts around Man on it because he can. However, again, another kill of the series from Bin, as he jumps off the bike straight into a flying kick and kills the enemy. He's definitely better in Lego form than he is in the real world. He also grabs the freaky foot suit. Using their suits, the boys get into the bank and come scarred face to normal face with Face. For whatever reason though, Face is immune to the toxic green sludge, and so we need a creative way to get to him. We obtain Bin's Hoover suit and build a small but functional fan boat which allows us safe passage across the sludge. A bridge separates the duo from Face and 5 more victims, but they quickly assemble it and make short work of their next victims. After entering the main vault, they begin ganging up on Face and beat the ever-loving crap out of him, while collecting plenty of studs along the way of course. 2 more thugs are added to the count as well. After Face has been taken down, Puzzler is our next priority, and while beating him up, 4 new enemies enter the count. Oh wait, no, 12. So 16 in total, all get added in rapid time as Man and Bin have to fight their way out of this crowded room. Puzzler begins mind-controlling Face to beat us up again, and he doesn't do a very good job. He's persistent, but rather useless. We do have that in common. After finally managing to lure Puzzler down, the dynamic duo beat him down and end up burying the wannabe thieves in a pile of gold bars, which definitely causes some long-term injuries. After the triumph, Bin engages in some tomfoolery only rivalled by a 17th century court jester. We see the Not So Sinister Six arrested back in Hamasloom, and they don't seem pleased to be there, but well, we did it. We put them away and saved the Wayne fortune, managing to get ourselves a healthy $426,910 back in the process. Despite Man's wary nature of this new world, he seems to have settled himself in nicely, and through that comfort, himself and his sometimes useless boy Blunder got 350 kills, proving that even though they're strangers in a strange land, they're killers until the end. We open with Cat stealing an overly expensive gem from a nearby gallery, and conveniently enough, Man and Bin are also going to steal the gem. Times are tough as we know, so they try to intervene and stop Cat while also getting their hands on the gem. Our first batch of kills come when Man goes into autopilot and punches this man across the street, before with the help of Bin they take out 8 of this chapter's goons. The boys engage in some light property damage to quite literally beat every cent out of the underworld, before 3 more criminals are met with the swift hands of death, and after that little scuffle, Man, using his otherworldly vision, spots a rat in the corner of his eye, and so he runs after them, beating them to death as he used to back in the real world. Man then commits Grand Theft Auto, building this tiny vehicle and stealing it from this garage, driving it straight past 2 rats and into another fight. Mimicking Bin's awe-inspiring bike-powered fly kick, Man flies off the small vehicle and boots the single goon into the wall, killing him. Bin enters his new suit, the freaky foot suit, and the pair begin scaling the buildings surrounding them. It's here, in Man's most brutal kill of his time in this new world so far, he punches this man off the balcony and sends him plummeting to his death, proving that this is the same man who sent all those poor unfortunate thugs to their doom in the real world. For whatever reason only known to Barbatos and Man himself, a handful of thugs are left alive here. Clearly Man has plans for them, because there's no way he'd leave them to live. Alas, the pair head into the next section of the mission where they're met with a group of 3 thugs who are put to the sword, before 2 more enter the fray and are swiftly dealt with in usual style. Man equips the Aquat suit and glides down to another building, crafting a bridge from nothing but scrap he found laying around on the floor to let Bin cross the gap safely. Once over to the other side, Man jumps these two unsuspecting thugs, letting the light fade from their eyes as he pummels them and in his rage jumps down, kills 3 more thugs and beats the ever-loving god out of this array of various trash cans. A bit like that scene in The Dark Knight Rises where Bane just beats the hell out of a wall. Man and Bin try to make good on their promise to make a better city and so begin some light horticulture, but are interrupted by 3 men who hate fun and colourful things. They're easily brought to their doom, but not before Man finishes uncovering his flowers. After planting their garden and reaping the early financial benefit from its roots, 3 more garden haters drop by and they're murdered in record time as their blood feeds the plants of justice. Man then hops in the man mower and chops his garden down, just like in our green friend's house, because despite his clear love for the game of gardening, Man loves money above all else. Bin then uses the freaky foot suit to scale this tower before slaughtering its 2 occupiers before the pair get over to the adjacent building where they kill 2 more thugs and another rat. Cat then appears wanting to defend her precious gem, but Man's hammers of justice are unisex, so he and his protege begin raining down punches and kicks on the feline friend to try and steal her stolen goods back. She then flees the scene, so the boys give chase, clearing this gap and adding 3 more victims to the count. Another 3 enemies fall to the sword of justice before Ban puts on the famous TB pie suit before Bin spends like 5 minutes trying to hack this control board using the freaky foot suit, because remember guys, he is incompetent. 2 more enemies come to remind Bin of his stupidity, but well, they both get slaughtered. The pair leave, Bin about to crash out over his own mind-numbing fuckwittery, and they kill 3 more thugs, saving a hostage who must be able to give them some financial help, otherwise they'd have probably killed him too. After taking way too long to put the bricks together though, Bin dons the wreck suit and commands this tiny car into this glass house, flipping these switches and mowing the lawn to collect some of that sweet dollar. The main man, uses his intimate knowledge of mechanical engineering and constructs a small but functional attack helicopter. Anyway, Bin grabs onto the bottom of it, attempting to hijack it and get in the driver's seat, but Man holds him off before crashing the helicopter and killing someone. 2 thugs actually run off, clearly the message has been delivered, and the duo of criminals manage to escape, for now. After entering the apartment below, 2 more thugs get added to the count, and then another 2 further along the balcony. We finally catch up to Cat, who seems to have gathered a rather large health bar, but she's protected by these flying goons, 2 of which are the same 2 who ran from us earlier, but they are quickly disposed of, as are the next batch of 3 who try their luck against us, and 1 final thug tries to make his stand against the dynamic duo, but, well, you catch the drift. Cat tries to escape, but Man begins letting his lust consume him and Bin nearly throws up because he's an immature little clown. That doesn't change the fact she launches the gem thereafter off the roof though, and after Cat is taken to the police she begins trying to escape again, so Man, probably not realising she isn't an actual cat, rather a woman in a suit, lays out some milk and oh my god I'll be damned it worked. He launches her in the back of the van at Mach 3 and that brings her night to an end, for now at least. The boys spot some hooligans breaking the Gotham docks speed limit, so they jump in their specialised boat and the hunt begins to stop the speedsters. This level's count will be a little different. See, the Wizard of Cobb sends some serious weaponry after us, including submarines and these what I can only assume are unmanned frog boats, so we'll only be adding a kill or 3 kills given our rules from previous episodes if we see the boys take out a penguin sub. With the bread meter once again empty and the criminal scum of Gotham out on the water, the boys launch into action and start by killing a lone sub followed by another pair of subs attempting to bring the pair's night to an end. After blowing open a gate using one of these really dangerous and ill-placed water nukes, 3 more penguin subs are sliced open and filled with ham. That was supposed to be funny because subs could also mean like Subway, so I was trying to make like a Subway joke. Please subscribe. 3 more subs fall to the watery graves of Gotham docks, and another lone sub tries his luck and falls short of the mark. For some reason, the Wizard of Cobb must love sending things out in batches of 3s because, well, 9 more kills are added to the count. Cobb finally must have figured out how to count past 3, as 5 of his Cobb subs are sent out to stop the dynamic dimwits, but they're all blown up, as is the norm. And after doing some sick burnouts, we enter the next arena where 6 more Cobb subs are sent to swim with the fishes. As the pair stumble around the arena trying to figure out what to do, 2 more subs are brought down, and as they figure out what to do, yet another 2 subs are brought down by crashing down to Davy Jones's locker. Another sub explodes off screen, and another 2 are taken out, and just like that we move on, but not before taking out 1 final sub. The boys have an intense stare down with the wizard and oh my god, he's beautiful. Don't worry, Chiller, I'm coming. I'm also going to get you. But I don't know if I can leave that in. I'm going to leave that in. To get to Croc though, we have to bomb the Wizard of Cob's super sub, and to do that we have to control these stupidly difficult bombs that are just kind of lying around in Gotham docks, which are extremely dangerous. I mean, imagine if the Big Chiller was swimming around in the docks and he hit one of them. Disgraceful. Anyway, there aren't any kills here as we sunk Cob's entire fleet of Cob subs, so after nuking his submarine and scaring him and Chiller off, the boys jump onto land and confront the pair, and as they do, Croc begins flexing before he rips this plate off the wall and just beheads Bin. Anyway, with Bin dead, Man recruits a new boy blood. Oh no, he's still alive, god damn it. Chiller and Cobb begin heading into the sewers, and so the boys give chase. Making their way into the Gotham City sewers, Man and Bin have a thought. Why has everyone in their world got silly names? The locations, the people, the criminals, all of them have silly names aside from the city they inhabit. It's almost like whichever almighty power brought them into existence was too lazy to think of a funny name for the city. Anyway, after using the last of their combined brain cells to have that existential crisis, Man and Bin go crocodile hunting, and Bin, the imbecile he is, tries to challenge a standard sewer croc to a Taekwondo match. The crocodile runs away though, scared of Bin's track record. Two blue baddies try to defend Chiller Croc, but they're pretty easily dealt with before Bin thundercunts a rat against a wall. The boy blunder dons the freaky foot suit and kills two more enemies, and proceeds to climb this wall, allowing Man to access the TB pie suit, which in turn allows them to open this door. After collecting some more of that sweet moolah, the boys are shot by various men wearing used male contraceptive methods on their heads. Man deals with 3 of the ground goons before he slices 2 of them in half using his manarangs, and then kills another thug, adding him to the graveyard. Back on the ground floor though, the two dispose of 3 more thugs as the UMCM thugs, I'm not even going to explain that one, continue to rain down fire on them, but in one fell swoop, Man kicks one thug and takes the other UMCM thug out using a quick fire manarang. While trying to get a change of clothes for Bin, one singular rather ballsy thug tries his luck and gets demolished as is expected. Bin manages though to don the lead suit. I call it this because it allows Bin to just like sort of sink to the bottom of bodies of water and walk around like nothing is affecting him, which is an insane ability to have on a suit. In his new suit though, Bin spin kicks this thug to death, presumably out of anger for how ugly it is. The lead loser goes dollar hunting, leaving Man to fight 3 thugs off by himself, but obviously he has no problems with them and actually holds them off, losing no health in the process. Bin resurfaces to 4 more thugs which are struck down by his lead hands, and after blowing a hole in the wall, Man and Bin are jumped by 4 more of the UMCM thugs, and they're all used once again, this time as a warning to their peers. The warning, however, doesn't get into their heads, and another batch drop in and are sent to hell, where they'll be punished for their awful fashion sense. Our pair both get new suits at the exact same time for the first time in the series, this time donning the Aquat and Freaky Foot suits at the same time. Bin then finds the family of crocodiles of the Croc he challenged to a match earlier, and he killed them. He killed them all. They're dead, every single one of them. And not just the men, but the women and the children too. They're literally animals, and he slaughtered them like animals. He hates them. Later on down the sewers though, the boys are jumped by 2 rapidly expanding thugs who, as quickly as they expanded, were shrunk back down to size. Another Lone Ranger is quickly given the Carson Wells treatment as he swiftly ended without warning, although he probably knew his time was up. Man tries to build, oh god, I can't believe I'm about to write this, but edit it, then listen to it back, edit it again, and then put it into a video. Man tries to build a skibby... No, I can't do it. I won't do it. Man tries to build a toilet, but he's interrupted and his dark passenger is pleased as he kills them both, and another rapidly expanding thug tries it and fails it. Again with the lone thugs. Man then forms a crocodile, presumably to trick the real ones into believing he's a friend, but the Croc attempts to kidnap him, but not before he jumps on him, spewing his guts all over the floor as he does, but thankfully the Croc's guts are actually made of pure dollars. Unfortunately, Bin has to don that god-awful lead suit again, but this time it's for a very good reason. He needs it so the pair can finally get to meet Chiller Croc, the very backbone of the Man and subsequent Lego Man universes. After taking out 3 more thugs, the main event is here. The reason we're all all gathered today. If you're new here and are confused as to why this is such a big moment, Killer Croc is not only my favourite man villain, but his real world counterpart, Killer Croc, is my favourite Batman villain. And he was in the first serial killer run, and he was one of the first villains to get a silly name bestowed upon him way back in the Arkham Asylum serial killer run. So yeah, this is a pretty big moment, and well, it comes as quick as it goes. Using Bin as a human shield, we dodge Croc's projectiles and eventually just kick the leather off of him. I'm not a fan of ever hurting the big chiller, but this felt especially dirty. After he's turned into the most chill pair of shoes of all time though, he drops us a free couples coupon to go to the Gotham City Zoo, so that's where we'll go. Pulling up to the zoo and playing with the frogs, Man and Bin quickly get to grips with the simple joys of a family day out at the zoo. Man rides the mechanical penguin, which begins playing some chill lo-fi beats, but justice waits for no man, not even the man. Two intruders who didn't pay their ticket price get in the father and son's way, and are quickly and swiftly asked to leave the park, before they enter the gift shop. Inside the gift shop they realise something though. They didn't pay for their tickets. The local security jump them, but they're no match for Bin, who desperately wants to see the turtles, and he and Man make short work of their opposition before Bin picks up a new toy, the freaky foot suit. Heading back outside, three more UMCM thugs try to ask the pair to politely leave, but they ask the wrong family and they are killed. Bin crafts a killdozer though and gets to work, mowing down everyone, including Man, on his quest to see the turtles. His vehicular manslaughter catapults two more UMCM thugs onto his count. The pair drive the dozer into the main portion of the zoo where three security guards try to knock them out, but through raw determination, they fight past them before 10 more guards ask for their money. But times are tough and money is scarce, and the pair manage to keep their free entry for a little while longer. After collecting some more money from behind the park's benches, Man and Bin add two more kills to their count before getting Bin some new threads, the Rec Zoo. And it's here the dynamic duo made a thrilling discovery. A horrifying one, but one that blurs the lines between unnerving and genius nonetheless. Bin can create other bins. Out of character for a second here, but when I tell you I lost my mind finding this out, I mean it. Like, I lost it. Serious laughing fits were had over the course of the rest of this level. Until this series, I hadn't played LEGO Batman 1 all the way through for like a decade. It had been a while. So this was like rediscovering that song you remember from your childhood that turns out to be a banger in your adulthood, but just infinitely funnier. What really topped this discovery off for me though is the fact this fake bin reacts like the real one, which leads me to the only logical conclusion I can make regarding these bin sentients, and that is that they are in fact bin homunculi and feel pain and emotions the same as the real one, which is made even worse by the fact that after they've outlived their usefulness they just fucking explode. Bin, despite seeing these bin homunculi as expendable, is ultra protective of them though and fly kicks this goon to death for killing his new friends. Using his 15 minutes of main character energy to its fullest, he also kills these two thugs by launching a binarang underneath this small gap. Man, seeing how happy his bum-ass son is, builds him one final present, a real live controllable turtle. Bin becomes overwhelmed with excitement and uses his new toy to return the favour to his badass dad, giving him access to the JBL suit, and if you don't understand why it's called that, I'll give another demonstration. A daunting 15 thugs stand between Man and Bin and the star attraction of the zoo, so they get to work wading their way through the UMCM thugs and security guards alike, killing indiscriminately until they're able to board this boat and kick the ever-loving life out of it. Using these bouncy lily pads and avoiding the hungry Crocs, Man dons the TB pie suit and uses it to head straight into the bottom of the boat. The boys drop through the roof and split up before Bin, who's quickly becoming the main character of this episode, not really, there's a reason why he's in the back of the thumbnail behind Killer Croc, is attacked by Batman. The dynamic duo have to fight Batman, who got given his name because he's a man who looks like a bat by playing some of that good stuff. After bringing Batman down to their level, they beat him up a little more before three thugs try a final attempt to get the dynamic duo out of the park, but they fail. The cycle repeats thrice more while the boys bring down Batman again before killing 9 of his sidekicks. The Bat gets disorientated by the sick flow of Mike Shinoda's bars, and ultimately gets caught, being tied up in his own wings and mocked by Bin of all people. Really deep that for a second. Someone out there got mocked by Bin, the human equivalent of a crumb of bread. Anyway, deep and unsettling thought over with, the boys have 2 more animal-based criminals to bring to justice, as they go after the Wizard of Cobb and Cat, who escaped the cops by asking Chiller and Cobb to break her out of her cell we put her in because she obtained the diamond we thought we got off her because a cat gave it back to her and they need it to make their evil plan work? Yeah, why not? Sure. Upon arriving at the last known approximate location of Cobb, the pair find a load of dead people, one of which Bin manages to successfully finish off, which is a nice bonus. However, all isn't sunshine and rainbows as they're jumped by red goons and robotic revolver-wielding Phillips. The latter, though, will not count towards our kill number. They're robotic Phillips, for God's sake. Anyway, 2 kills get added to the count right away as Man grabs the Aquat suit and is faced with a load more enemies, 4 of which are killed, 1 is a straggler from our first batch of 3. So they get added to the count, and I think another 7 got added, but honestly, who's even keeping score at this point? Bin grabs the lead suit and sends this lone thug to a cold end as they make their way across this bridge, and add another 4 to the count before they finally get to fight Cat and Cobb. Now, this boss fight confused the hell out of me. It took me 20 minutes. And if you don't believe me for whatever reason, here's the raw footage and its timestamps. Bear in mind, I'm a 20-year-old guy being stumped by a Lego Batman boss fight. I think, above all else, I'm starting to realise how talented I was as a child gamer, and how genuinely dull my brain has become in the years since, because I don't remember this game requiring so much critical thinking. I swear to God I have to think harder than this than I do for the hilarious jokes you all come to this channel for. That was one of those jokes. To save us all brain cells, I'll make this shorter than the 20 godforsaken minutes I took doing this fight, and just tell you that Man and Bin got... oh my god, this is so embarrassing. They got 46 kills, so we'll add 46 to the count. Oh my god. After thwarting Cobb's evil plan, all of his little Phillips suicide bombers die a slow and meaningless death as Man concusses Cat with a Manarang right to the back of the skull, and the dynamic dimwits stand and smile at the sight of her being put in a coma for the next 6 weeks. Back in the Assloom though, and everyone's a little bit cranky, which is fair considering they were beaten by myself, a guy who took 20 minutes on a boss fight, Bin, a man who can't count the amount of hands he has, and Man who, well, actually Man did quite well. All in all, the boys did well and put away the evildoers for now at least. Their finances were bolstered as well, and the pair now sit at a healthy $810,000 exactly, which is a really cool number to be at. It'll definitely help replenish the dwindling Wayne Enterprises fortune following the real world's events of the Ham Night incident. I may or may not have miscounted this wrong 4 times, but my final number was 670, so don't tell anyone I can't count. Since their last outing, Man and Bin have been lying low, tinkering with their custom thermonuclear toys purchased with their newfound funds, $810,100 last we saw them, and making sure no new victims slipped through the cracks. Man has also been looking at a cape upgrade after the incident which brought him here in the first place. But deep in Gotham, something has been brewing. A gang of new victims has risen, twisted, relentless, and dangerous enough to make even Man and Bin break a sweat. This crew is a mix of the familiar and the fearsome. First, Jerva, a foe Man never got the chance to kill in his mainline spree, but who once stalked him through the streets of Ham City. Then comes Cronem, the ultimate victim who forced Man into a brief retirement during the bloody days of Ham Night. If revenge is a dish best served cold, Man is going Sub-Zero on him. But not everyone here is old business. Enter Chiller Moth, a new face, too dangerous, too vile, too downright unpleasant to joke about. Second cousin to Chiller Croc, while Croc went down the road of being fun and lovable, Moth took the opposite path, honing his criminal skills. Man and Bin know they can't take him alone, so for this one, they've called in some backup from an ally who specialises in the new world they found themselves in. And finally, the ringleaders, Jonkler and Quinn, Gotham's cruelest clowns. United by bloodlust and vengeance, they've come for payback, to settle the score for Jonkler's real-world death at the hands of Man in Ham City, to revoke the 150th kill Man got on that fateful night. So, now the stage is set, the victims are waiting, and for the very last time in this universe at least, Man, Bin, take it away. To deal with Jerva, Bin has decided to bring his largest thermonuclear warhead. However, being the dimwit he is, he drops it back into the man cave, nearly sending Fred to space in 20,000 tiny chunks, but thankfully Fred's British aura saves his life. When Man and Bin land at Jerva's factory of Freak, they're met with some new goons, Jonkler's clown goons. 13 victims add themselves to our already impressive kill count, including 2 goons firing upon us from afar. Bin dons his first suit of the new chapter in their killing spree, the Henry suit. I've changed the name because, well, I can. So, using the new Henry suit bestowed onto him by the suit changer overlords, Bin begins actually cleaning the city up. Wow, he really is a changed man. But obviously Bin only does this because it actually benefits him and his dad, who still hates him. And by cleaning up the trash left around by employees of this factory, Man and Bin construct the Sucky. Now, I have a lot of history with this Sucky machine. It became Cardi family folklore after me and my father played through the game when I was a child. So seeing it again was like seeing my wife, who I thought died in active warfare, walk through the front door after being declared dead. So yeah, this was a pretty big moment. We use the Sucky to clear the ground of this green stuff, and the pair get jumped by 6 more Jonkler goons who want to get their hands on it. Obviously they're dealt with. Man does some construction and dons the famous AQWOT suit, ACWOT or AQWOT suit, which stands for a complete waste of time. See, back in Man's real world, he didn't need a suit to glide, his cape did that for him. Using it to clear this cavern, and the pair break into the room's roof and find 6 more Jonkler goons to kill, which they do, throwing them around like, I don't know, something to throw around. Before they get rudely interrupted by an overwhelming amount of enemies, 10 to be exact. Of course though, they're added to the count, forgotten about and put in the dirt. Man and Bin, in their pursuit to become the frontrunners in the ongoing global nuclear arms race, begin creating this machine which launches bombs from Man's TB Pi suit into any unfortunate target it may detect. This time though, they just use it to blow open a door for the Sucky to come through and clear the ground of this toxic waste before entering the factory. Once inside, the duo are met by the hired security, but since they have no respect for the points of authority, they duel with the thugs who they kill in the end. So they add 5 more thugs to their count as they make their way through the factory. Man tries to dead-eye a thug firing from the rafters, but unfortunately he can't lock on, so the boys head up a flight of stairs and kill 3 more thugs out of anger. 4 more are added in quick fashion, and Man, in celebration of his recent killing spree, built an ice cream forklift, and in response, Bin fashions a knockoff, not quite as good ice lolly forklift, proving again he will never live up to his mentor. Man's next victim comes when this lone thug tries to rush him, but gets completely and utterly sent to the Shadow Realm with a classic Man super kick. High on the fumes of murder, he then jumps into a group of thugs and kills them all in cold blood, slaying them where they stand, and that group is swiftly joined by 2 more foolish clowns. For some reason, 3 more thugs think their collective might can stop the Man train, and of course they don't. They can't because they are simply too weak. Man abandons Bin, figuring this whole situation will be solved much quicker if he kept his incompetent sidekick out of this, and his suspicions are quickly confirmed when he brings a group of 7 thugs to a decisive end. Bin decides to help out, finally, actually pulling his own weight and constructing a larger version of his Henry suit, but it doesn't hoover anything and instead magically fills with pools of acid, so that's cool, I guess. Anyway, the pair killed another 2 enemies, with Man farming the hell out of the surrounding aura with the latter 2 kills. He jumps in Bin's crappy knockoff of his ice cream truck forklift and uses it to activate an elevator which they use to hunt 3 more thugs down, ending them as quickly as they saw them. 4 gun goons guard the entrance to the next room, and Man also makes short work of them. Once inside, the pair reunite and take out 5 more goons, and Man, as an apology for being a little mean earlier, builds his useless son a new suit changer, this time giving him access to the freaky foot suit. Man uses the AQWOT suit to glide over to these 3 thugs who are all very quickly killed and added to the count, before bringing Bin across with him, and the dynamic dimwits take out 5 more thugs. After opening the door to the next room, they find Jerva, who shows his brutality by pushing an innocent goon into a vat of acid, presumably turning him into Jeremiah Valeska. The boys beat on 3 thugs, before sending Jerva back to his perch. There are then no more kills here, and the boys repeatedly drop Jerva into acid, which is entirely justified, and eventually, when all is said and done, blind him and leave him to rot to death in the factory. After their trip to the zoo went sideways, Man decides he should take his son to the amusement park, a place of fun and joy for the whole family. Unfortunately though, on the way to the park, they find out Jonkler and Quinn have kidnapped Jimmy G and put him in a cage, before showing us they're going to strap him to a bomb, drop an elephant on him, and then pull him apart? What the fuck? Anyway, this whole section is eerily similar to A Killing Joke, which is not a family-friendly story, so I guess Lego Man is just edgy now. Well, I sure hope Man gets to maybe or maybe not kill someone at the end. Anyway, they need to rescue their police commissioner Chum, so head there with murder on their minds. Once they arrive, 4 thugs meet their end, with them all telling the duo how they're going to tear Jimmy G apart. To calm himself down, Man engages in a callback to the zoo. This time though, instead of riding a mechanical penguin which exudes lo-fi beats, he rides a rocket ship which exudes a cappella versions of Linkin Park songs. Anyway, the pair hunt 5 more victims down and end them in a flurry. Man kills a rat, as is custom at this point, and then he dons the TB pie suit, which can only mean one thing, that being extreme amounts of public property damage. But while finding the perfect place to bomb, the duo are jumped by 6 balloon-wielding bad guys, but they're no match for the unmistakable aura of our favourite father and son pair, and they're all promptly dealt with. After going through the gate, further through the amusement park, Man and Bin are jumped by 5 more thugs before Man finally tries to upgrade the Man Wing, hopping into a stationary flight test sim for a few seconds before realising this will never come close to being the Man Wing for one high caliber reason: it has no guns, making it completely and utterly useless for Man's intended purposes. However, it does drop plenty of coins for the Wayne Enterprises Fund, so that's a bonus. After the test flight ends, 8 goons try to steal the plane, and despite Man's hatred for it due to it not having any guns, he and Bin defend it valiantly, a rare show of respect from the dimwits. A show of respect that is quickly met with a show of rampant disrespect, as 4 of the Joker's low-life lackeys flew in and tried to take the plane. Again though, they were no match for the duo. After defending their new plane, a plane they won't use but will cherish like their own anyway, Man dons the JBL suit. The JBL suit has been a fan favourite since its founding back where the pair ended up in this twisted world, but for those of you who don't know what the suit is all about, let me give you a quick demonstration.
But I prefer the term African American Express.
See, the JBL suit is actually named after the speaker brand. It launches songs at people rather than being a conventional protective suit against anyone in particular. It exists purely for the vibes. Man and Bin spot a suit changer for Bin and so head over to it, but they have to remove 4 more goons from this plane of existence before they can get Bin his new change of clothes. What clothes might they be? Well, it's the freaky foot suit, of course. Bin puts on his new shoes and his new drip attracts 6 more thugs who are dealt with. Not swiftly, but they are dealt with. And that's what matters. Further on in the park, Man is jumped by a trio of treacherous twits who are all brought to an end using a quick-fire batarang and a kick to the gut, but as the dust settles on one encounter, another encounter arises. The pair are attacked by another threesome of threatening clowns, but again they make short work of them. Bin switches into the Henry suit and begins cleaning the local area, one bit of trash at a time, but some local vandals try and stop Bin doing good. But thankfully he and his father are able to fight them off pretty easily, ensuring Bin can complete his court-mandated community service. Man, though, always one to rebel against the system, smashes some windows, causing the occupiers of the abode to defend their turf, a move which proves to be completely misjudged as they are all killed, the 4 of them being put down. To make up for his earlier misdemeanour, Man saves this poor woman from being eternally held hostage by these 3 thugs, and as Man disembarks the teacups, a fantastic group of 4 thugs try to end the pair's fun, but obviously they don't get very far. On their way past the helter-skelter, Man and Bin kill a father and son waiting in line for their turn before ending the lives of 5 more paying guests for getting in their way. 2 more thugs try to stop Man and Bin getting to Jimmy G, who I completely forgot was even a factor amidst all the fun of mass murder and making money, but like all those before them, they were evaporated. Before they reach Jimmy G and Quinn, the boys are jumped by what seems to be 9 guards. In any other circumstances, a 9v2 fight wouldn't be fair. But, you know, they say that all men are created equal. But you look at Man and Bin and you look at these goons and you can see that statement is just not true. See, normally if you go 9 on 2 with another group of people, you've got a 50-50 chance of winning. But Man and Bin are genetic freaks and they're not normal, so you've got a 25% chance at best to beat them. Then you add a jack-in-the-box with a Tommy gun into the mix, your chances of winning drastically go down. See, the 9 on 2 way at the amusement park, you've got a 33 1/3 chance of winning. But Man and Bin have got a 66 2/3 chance of winning. Because these 9 thugs know they can't beat Man and Bin, and they're not even going to try. Anyway, enough of that. I'm scared Scott Steiner might call me one of his freaks if I carry on. I'm leaving that version in. The pair go through the gates to find Jimmy G, who, by the way, has now been kidnapped in 4 of Man and his family's adventures. Just saying, he kind of sucks. They find Jimmy G, Quinn and Jonkler. Jonkler hides out of reach, delaying us from getting our murderous mittens on him for now, and we have to chase Quinn in a circle until she gets dizzy and we can attack. However, while attacking her, she calls in 6 goons who have to be taken out, followed by another batch of 6, and one of the inflating thugs who we shrink back down to size. After we chase Quinn enough to make her dizzy, we stop her, and okay, we don't really. Bin tries to fight her but ends up being chased around by her with a mallet, which Bin then tries to use on her. But Quinn, knowing her lore, grabs the crocodile from Man and Bin's time in the sewers that Bin tried to fight. All of this while Man rescues Jimmy G from his prison cell. Man does a little aura farming and no luck trips Quinn up with a manarang, crushing her under the crocodile and saving Bin. After Jimmy G is saved, we see Jonkler escaping in his Jonkcopter, and so we take to the skies. Now, this one is personal for Man. Cronem was the one who finally beat Man back in the real world, revealing his true identity to them, and sending him into a brief retirement. So, this is his chance to finally return the favour and kill Cronem. Also, it's worth mentioning, we'll only be counting 1 kill per vehicle instead of the usual 3, since we can actually see here that each helicopter has 1 person in it. So, let's get into this by adding 10 kills to the count right off the bat. The kills come thick and fast here, but I think Man killed another 8 victims here and another 8 here. Honestly, this is where the count might go off the rails. There is so much going on here. 5 more are killed here, 4 more here, 4 more here, and holy hell, this is getting hectic. It doesn't slow down either, as 5 more helicopters are blasted out of the sky, as yet another batch of 5 fly in to join the fray but are dispatched of. In the next section, 5 more helicopters are blown up before another 4 join them, and another 4 join them. This is very quickly becoming my least favourite segment of this series, but alas, we catch up to Cronem, who's used what was left of his ham night money to buy a biplane. A biplane which Bin grabs and Man shoots the hell out of, causing Cronem to crash into Jonkler, as Man simply nods in awe of his great work, clearing out Cronem and getting revenge for the whole ham night incident. I apologise for the lack of jokes or hilarious commentary you came to this channel for, but that whole segment was pretty thick and fast, not giving us much room to breathe, and I'm sorry, but that lack of funny will continue into our next segment. Not due to the quantity of enemies, but due to the quality and ruthlessness of the man we're facing next. For the first time in Man and Bin's career, they needed help, so they asked me to reach out to a man who knows all about Killer Moth, an expert in mothology, BD1P.
There's something we all need to understand about Killer Moth. Underneath that campy, pulpy, beautiful Spirit Halloween costume is, in canon, Lego Man's greatest adversary. No, I'm not joking. Throughout the games, we've seen him take on the likes of Bane, Joker, and even Darkseid without really breaking a sweat. But Killer Moth is different. On an old promotional Flash website, we were able to read descriptions of characters that appear in the game. And if we head on over to Barbara Gordon's, we learn that her tenure as Batgirl started after she saved Bruce Wayne from being kidnapped by Killer Moth. Yeah, Bruce Wayne, otherwise known as Man. Go ahead, play through all the games again. You'll never find another moment where Man is captured by any villain. Moth is the only one to do so. Unless you count Owlman, but like that's just himself in a different dimension, or I guess it's like his older brother. Who cares? Moth is a terrifying force. You can't just wander into his territory without being prepared. No matter what choices you make, what actions you take, it's always going to be what he wanted you to do. There is no escape. Good luck, man. You're gonna need it.
Well, there you have it, straight from the mouth of a man who studied Moth for years, even going as far to call him Killer Moth, a nickname bestowed onto him in study groups dedicated to Moth due to his kill count and downright disregard for human life. BD warned Man and Bin to be careful because every move they make plays right into Moth's hands. He's the only villain to capture Man, and he's dangerous, so let's wish the boys some good luck. We begin with Moth clearly using an old conventional jungle warfare tactic called moth manoeuvring to lure the boys into a trap, but they don't bite. Man builds a car. Last time he did this, it was to get away from his incompetent son. This time he's built it to try and commit vehicular manslaughter on Killer Moth. Unfortunately though, he can't, and Moth manages to moth move out of the way to safety. Man, having realised him and his son have actually fallen for the moth manoeuvre, have to fight their way past 6 of the Mothmen, and they do that, of course. Man then builds another car and uses it to run some people down, but again, he doesn't actually hit anyone. He does, however, kill 2 more thugs, followed by dispatching of a lone thug who wanted to try his hand at some light-hearted murder. Man gets his dumb son to push him up an elevator, which leads directly to a TB pie suit. He dons the suit and now has the destructive force to maybe have a slim chance at being able to land a hit on Moth. Man drops down to street level and decides as a reward for helping him, he'd bake Bin a cake. I'm kidding, he destroys it in front of him because he doesn't respect Bin. Man, being the world's greatest detective, realises something strange. There are a lot of seemingly related blonde women who all look the exact same. A trick to bring out Man's playboy side and thus catch him off guard, or is this just a street exclusively for blonde people? You call it. Either way, Man breaks into this nightclub and begins wrecking the joint before killing 8 thugs, destroying the blonde girl nightclub. As someone engaged to a woman with blonde hair, this is a touchy subject for me, so I made sure Man was able to clear the club out and make a safe environment for these women to enjoy themselves. And yes, I do think we should make fuel prices lower. Vote for me in the 2027 election, hashtag I believe in Cardi Dent in the comments. Man and Bin continue to clear the upper floor of this blonde woman-only nightclub, taking out 6 thugs on the top floor, and Bin dons the wreck suit to bring this robot out of the dance floor. It breaks open a wall and suddenly begins boogieing. It does try to crush the non-blonde women in the club, but it just can't. Its sole purpose, despite the fact it has wings and missiles, is to dance, and so it does just that, and obviously Man and Bin, amidst the thought of being brought to an end by Chiller Moth, decide to have a little dance as well. Once outside, following Moth's trail of destruction, the boys kill 3 more thugs, and Bin dons the freaky footsuit as they rescue another blonde lady, this time from 2 hostage takers. Bin uses the new suit to hunt these 2 victims down and add them to the count before he builds an industrial pump to remove the green goo from the floor, allowing for Man to safely make his way over to Bin, and after blowing up some junk, Man and Bin dispose of 5 more thugs as 5 more look on, scared that they'll meet the same fate, and of course they do. Man and Bin enter the broken down building in front of them, and the Moth begins its hunt. He fires up his jetpack and begins attacking the dynamic dimwits. They fight back, but it's useless. Moth runs away, giving them a chance to recuperate from the beatdown he just put on them. Man, using his astute tactical fight analysis, realises something. Moth wears night vision goggles, something that they can use to take him down. Armed with this knowledge, the boys regroup and decide how they'll take down the deadliest foe they've faced, evident by his path of destruction and lack of respect for women-exclusive nightclubs. Hashtag I believe in Cardi Dent. They decide to build a giant light, messing with Moth's 2020 vision and giving them a slim chance to damage him, but as they do, a large group of thugs try to get in Moth's good books, attacking the pair, but they're all pretty easily dealt with, so we'll add those 8 buffoons to the count. Moth attacks the pair a few more times, only their iron will keeping them alive through this onslaught of punches and kicks, and 8 more thugs come in to try and help Moth, but they fail. Man and Bin using their last breaths to deal with Moth's help before, in the biggest upset of all time, the dynamic dimwits manage to blind Moth long enough to drop him down to their level and beat him down before Bin sprays him with some anti-Moth repellent, and he rats out the Jonkler and Quinn, who are trying to poison Gotham from the cathedral over the street. Moth waits until they've gone, sacrificing Jonkler and Quinn to Man and Bin before flying off to safety because he's not only extremely physically imposing, but mentally, he is a powerhouse. Here we are everyone, Man and Bin's final outing for a very long time. They've taken out so many enemies, so many supervillains, but this is what it's all been leading up to. Taking down Jonkler and Quinn for good. They both have history with each of them, but tonight, it ends for good. Once they arrive, Man, knowing this is his last chance to really pump those numbers up, kills 15 thugs at the front door before donning the TB pie suit and going on one more attempted vehicular manslaughter spree. Their penchant for saving blonde women in distress kicks back in, and they end 3 more thugs here, bringing them down and saving the lady. After some more exploring, Quinn leaps out of a window and pushes her own men to their deaths, stealing kills off of Man and Bin. Man relishes the opportunity to kill more foes and so ends 4 more enemies, adding them to the count. Man and Bin, who's now wearing his freaky footsuit, build oil launchers and begin shooting Quinn with crude oil in hopes she'll slip and fall to her death and stop being so goddamn annoying. However, she retreats inside. Man and Bin give chase up the cathedral, and when they reach the top, they find themselves surrounded by a load of photorealistic barrels of toxic waste, connected to very Lego-looking dispersal devices. Jonkler and Quinn find themselves stuck in the large bells atop the tower, and it's up to Man and Bin to get them out and beat them to death. Jonkler is the first to fall after being scared out of his spell by a large hammer, with Quinn joining him soon after. When they think they caught the clowning couple, Jonkler blows a hole in the cathedral wall and our dynamic dimwits are attacked by the Jonkcopter. They dodge its fire to begin with and construct another pair of crude oil launchers, this time hoping to set the helicopter on fire using a book of matches man keeps in his belt after the chopper is doused in the oil. However, that isn't needed, as the chopper flies off anyway, scared of the fiery death that would await him if he stuck around. Jonkler jumps down to try and finish the job, but between Man and Bin they make short work of the Clown Prince of Cringe, until he manages to electrocute them both half to death. Once they come to, Jonkler and Quinn are celebrating their victory, until Man, spotting some bats in the rafters, uses them to daze and confuse Jonkler and Quinn, while farming as much aura as humanly possible alongside Bin and Jimmy G. The police move in to arrest the clown couple, and that brings Man and Bin's night to an end. In the grimy depths of Arkham Asylum, the criminal lineup sulks, knowing they lost. Moth even hired a body double to take his place in custody, giving Man and Bin hope they might have beaten him, but we all know that isn't true. The final look inside the asylum we get is Jonkler, having been defeated for the 5th time by Man, trying to kill himself. Unfortunately for him though, his life can only be taken by Man, so until that day comes, the joke is on him. And there we have it folks, the end of the LEGO Batman 1 serial killer run. To end this series off though, let's look at the stats. Man and Bin collected $1,192,189, which I'm sure will be spent very responsibly. But the big number we all came to see, with counting mistakes factored in of course, I'm still in awe that got past me and over 10,000 people. Anyway, the final count for the LEGO Batman serial killer run was a massive 890 kills. Now for context, the first go around of this series back in the real world, or the Arkham series, ended at 1,322 kills. So in just one game, the boys got just over 67% of the way to beating an entire series of kills in one game. And that's a hell of an achievement, and they couldn't have done it without you. So thank you for allowing me to play through LEGO Batman again, and thank you for watching, liking, sharing, subscribing, hyping, all that stuff, and I do really hope you enjoyed this series. It's a bit of silly fun. This series started out as a bit of silly fun, and it will die as a bit of silly fun. So thank you for everyone for not taking it too seriously, because I know sometimes people on YouTube have a tendency to take stuff like this a little bit too seriously, but with the counting mistakes and the fact that, you know, it's LEGO Batman, how could you possibly take this seriously? Anyway, again, thank you so much for supporting me on this, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Hello, man. Glad I could finally catch you here. It's Moth-a from the Killer of the Year Awards.